Good evening, everyone. I hereby call this special meeting of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. All board members are in attendance. Please remember that the items do not have to be taken as it has been listed. Thank you for joining us, and I ask you to please turn your cell phone to the silent mode. At this time, we have public comment, and we have not received anyone requesting address the board. However, those who are interested to address the board in the future meetings, instructions are posted with the meeting notice, which is 72 hours in advance, and each presenter has 3 minutes to address the board. Okay, at this time, the board will now conduct an executive closed session to discuss items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provision of Texas Open Meeting Act and as allowed by Texas Government Code Section 551.074. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as the result of discussions in the closed meeting will take place after the board reconvenes into open session. And time now is 5:01 p.m. Again, good evening. The board is now reconvening into open session, and time is 5:06 p.m. Once again, please remember the items do not have to be taken as it has been listed. This time we have discussion and action agenda. We have one item on the discussion and action portion of agenda. Is a consideration of and board action on the superintendent's recommendation of administration personnel.
Yes, sir. President Nirman, board members, I would like to bring a recommendation to hire for our Director of Assessment and Accountability, Jenna Munson, a cash employee.
Has been well vetted, right?
Yes, sir. She is, we have called several people. I've called personally, talked to the superintendent at her current district, and the committee was blown away by her interview. She is a former NHS student and graduate, so we feel like she would do a great job at that.
Board, are there any questions? Not? Yes.
I move that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation.
A second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board. Now, at this time, we have budget workshop. Next order of our business tonight is budget workshop. And item A is budget development for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. Mr. Ben Eberlein.
Yes, sir. President Nirman, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Burton. Where has the year gone? It feels like we were just here, I don't know, 2 months ago. But here we are again. We're going to go through kind of the process, the overview of how the budget is constructed. We'll get into some numbers, mostly expenditures, as it's very preliminary for revenues at this time. We'll go into that in depth a little bit. But I have a presentation and also a handout for you all with the proposed budget for 26-27. So, like I said, we'll go over the process for, as everybody knows, when you have a budget, two things that you have to have: revenues, expenditures. So we'll go kind of in depth on those and how I project those, or how we project those. And obviously kind of go over our timeline, our next steps, afterwards. So just to touch on the development process, initially we start with our work list or worksheets. We have about 53 budget worksheets that we send out to campuses and departments after we develop their allotments, and they fill them out and return them back. And for a while there, I think we were hand entering a lot of it until we decided, yeah, it was probably a waste of time. We need to start uploading it. So we do that, and that gives us our, for the most part, what I like to call discretionary funds for the campuses and departments. All of their contracted services, supplies, other operating, travel, all of that stuff that they have the discretion on. I need to spend X amount on this. For the most part, payroll I see is completely separate and a whole nother beast. It's its own entity over here. Now, our campuses do have the discretion to pay extra duty for things, tutorials, staying after school and before school, all those kinds of things. Next is our enrollment and staffing projections. We have a wonderful PEMS department. Ms. Shantae Rogers over here. She's the only one in the crowd, I think, but she is an absolute genius when it comes to PEMS, and she helps with projecting rollover numbers, pre-K enrollment, those kinds of things, so that we can get a true grasp of how many students we have to serve. And to go along with that, that's the reason that we're here, is for the kids. So directly corresponding to how many kids do we have to serve, how many staff do we need to serve that amount of kids. So those go hand in hand, and we look at that as every single year, because as we all know, it's constantly changing. Next is going to be revenue estimates. I'm not going to get too in-depth on this slide because I do have a whole slide dedicated to revenues and all the forms of revenue that we get. Alignment to district priorities and initiatives. Those things are going to be like the board's initiative or priority for us to have social workers, the school supplies that we buy yearly for the students so that they don't have to. Those kinds of things we just need to keep in mind as we're building the budget. Even though they may come from other sources like federal funds and stuff, we just need to make sure that we're mindful when we're building it that those things are going to happen. And then refinement. As I said, we are very preliminary. It almost, it's still very new to me being a July 1 fiscal year. It feels so early in the process. I believe I know that we just got our preliminary values from our CAD this morning. So in order to even project any revenues, there was almost no way I could have done it without completely guessing what the values were going to be before this morning. So there will be some refinement. We'll go through with a fine-tooth comb on some of our vacancies that we have budgeted, try and narrow or pick this budget down to get as close to balance as we can. Where do our dollars go? That is, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, our budget goes to people. They are our biggest asset, and we spend money on people. Now, you may look at this and say, 67 million on my sheet, it says 71 million. For the purpose of this presentation, I wanted to take out some of those projects that the board approves for priority maintenance, different projects like that, because I wanted to give the board a true idea of what our year-to-year budget would look like without some of those high-cost items in there. But I do want you to know what you have on your sheet is what will be proposed, or what I will be proposing and refining in June. But I wanted to give the board kind of an idea of what our actual annual budget would be without these high-priced products. And with that, like that, our budget is comprised of 80% payroll and benefits, and roughly 20% of any other spend. Revenue overview. How are we funded? How do we get money? That's the big question. A lot of it, local property values. So one of the board's main functions is to adopt a tax rate, and that tax rate directly correlates to how much revenue we're going to receive in local tax valuations. So that is one of our main sources of income. The other is going to be, I know it says ADA on there. That is one of the main driving factors when TEA is going to give us money. But that is not the only factor. There are lots of different special populations of students, and they are all weighted differently in the eyes of TEA on how much it would cost for us to serve those students and their needs. So all of those are different FTEs that we have to take into account, and that's all in a humongous spreadsheet that nobody wants to look at. So that's some magic formula TEA has improvised. And federal monies, that's going to be our ESSA applications and grants that we apply for every single year. I think next board meeting, we have our federal programs coordinator coming with our intent to apply, so the board will know what we're applying for in terms of federal grants. Expenditures, where do our money go? Obviously staffing. We are constantly monitoring staffing levels to serve our students best. Student programs and services, I put this on here so that I could kind of touch on some of our thriving programs, barbering, cosmetology. We want to really feed into those programs that are succeeding and kids are interested in them. And at the same time, we also have to look at programs that aren't doing as well. And that's one of the weird things about school finance and me in my position. It's kind of the melding of interest in school and where the kids' interests are. I was sitting in a meeting with Mr. Burton and our T&L team, and he walked in and he said, "What's Ben doing here? He's this is T&L stuff," but it had to do with our LIFT program. And when I hear our T&L team talk about all the things that they want to do and the importance of the program, it just makes my head spin of, okay, well, we could spend the money on this, we could spend the money on this, we could program or plan for this. So it's just the tying in of everything is fascinating. Operational continuity, we have to keep the lights on, air conditioners running, trucks for our people, all those kinds of non-negotiable things. Contracted services repairs, we don't have some of the skilled labor that's required to do some of the repairs that are necessary. HVAC, we do have a wonderful HVAC team, but sometimes we have to call out white electric, some of the electrical things, all those kinds of things. So Miss Cindy Smith is one of the people that spends a lot of contracted maintenance. And then obviously compliance. Talk about unfunded mandates, safety, our school buses. There are many compliance things that we are required to spend money on. The planning of when that money is spent and how, that's a whole nother conversation, but we ultimately have to have these things to be in compliance. So future plans and growing programs, I kind of touched on that already. We're always being mindful of where we're going, what our future is, and that's directly tied into what this budget looks like. And priority maintenance projects, like I said earlier, we have roughly 7 outstanding projects that are coming out of the general fund, roughly $3.3 million worth. So 3.1 of that was passed last board meeting. So we're on the tail end of most of our projects, but just always being mindful of where we're at, keeping track, and that is it. I do have one more, Les, if you'll throw that on there. I talked earlier about our students and how much staff we need. So I just kind of wanted to throw a report on the screen for you. There we go. So this is just a snapshot. This is straight out of our on data suite. So this is from our fall snapshot. All of these numbers, it lists enrollment, and then the number of all staff FTEs as well as teacher FTEs and non-teacher. So when we're looking, and Mr. Z and I like to say we're the same coin, just different sides. This is where our worlds collide, is teachers, students, non-teachers, all of those things. So just so that the board knows, we are constantly looking at these fluctuations in enrollment and keeping an eye on, one, our administrative cost ratio, which is directly correlated to our first rating, as well as our teacher to student ratio, making sure that we're properly, we have a making sure that we have a proper ratio. I guess that's the term. But this is all the information that I have for you today. If you have any questions, I would be happy to entertain them at this time.
I have, are we expecting more students? Teachers?
That's a great question. On this, my eyesight's not as good as it once was. I believe this report says 5526 as student enrollment or membership, 55 something. We are currently at 5456,
Yes.
so we are sub 5,500 students, even from this time. So the fall snapshot's in October, so we have lost students. I believe, I was talking to Ms. Shantae earlier today, we've lost just shy of 200 students this year. So I can only project that we will lose more students this year, or next year. So it's unfortunate, and the big question is, and when I heard that earlier today, the first thing that we said was, where are they going? The bulk of our students are going to other school districts in the state of Texas. Smaller school districts, the charters, they're also going homeschool, and we've also had some that are going to schools outside the state of Texas. So they're just leaving, and it's not an isolated incident either. It's happening to all big school districts. It feels like.
What,
Actually,
what school, like grade level, is pretty even?
We thought the same thing. So we pulled it by student, and
Campuses or-
it's all over the place.
Okay.
It's everywhere, elementary, middle, high school. It's almost unfathomable that we could lose 190 students. That's almost half of a grade level for us. Our class average is somewhere around 400 students, 450. And that's almost half of a grade level that we've lost.
That probably goes to Mr. Zamanik. Our CTE program attracting people from another camp, another schools, another communities.
I'm not sure on the students, but I do have a transfers in report for our school district. I don't know the exact students and what grade that they're in or
Right.
why they've come, but that is one of our main things is we want to have thriving and successful programs that bring kids in.
Right.
And I think a lot of that a lot to do with CTE because they are thriving.
There's a question I constantly ask every year. Do we have any generator for any campuses in case of electricity? I feel like the probably the central office need one for sure.
We have 2 generators in the district. One at technology, as you know,
Sure.
if that ever goes down, nobody know what to do, and one at transportation. But to answer your question, no, sir, we don't have dedicated generators at each campus or in central office.
And the reason I ask is during my years of coaching teaching, there was a lot of time electricity is gone and everybody looking for flashlight. There's a chaos.
Do you think there's any correlation with our loss of students?
The bulk with the bulk of our students going to other school districts in the state of Texas, I almost have to say no, but I can't completely rule that out as us losing some children. That is almost for certain, but the data shows that we're losing them to other school districts. So
Vouchers do work, though, for home.
I believe so, yes, sir.
Now that more information is coming out about, they're not very incentivizing. I mean, they're just fiddling, especially. I think that ever be a big effect.
Again, it's probably going to too many details. When a student's transfer, are we tracking on where they go, majority of them, or which counties will pick them up more often?
Yes, sir. I have a list of them. Bulk of them looks like Central Heights, and then Garrison has a substantial amount, as well as the charter school at SFA. Oh, and also Woden.
My question is more about the budget. In the last board meeting, we're being mandated to put seatbelt buses. So as we look at this year's budget, are we going to set? I know the board hadn't made a decision yet as to whether we're going to replace buses or just go with have seatbelts put in older buses. But we're going to have to do it. So will this budget address?
No, sir, I have not put that in here with the only caveat as being the mandate is being in compliance by 2029. So I feel like it's in the board's best interest to see what grant opportunities are out there prior to us doing all of that out of fund balance. So that would be my suggestion, and that's the only reason it's not in here. If they were mandating it be done before next year's over with, then of course we would have to do it. But I would suggest that we kind of see what's out there first, because this is a mandate for all schools. So it's going to, the transportation world is about to get hit kind of like the fencing world was 2 years ago. So it's, no, sir, that's not addressed in this budget.
It was listed on your cost.
Wait,
No, it's the cost, staffing, student, program, operation, contract service, client, safety, and
yes,
It was
sir.
on-
Just as an input into
Yeah.
the budget. It's not necessarily saying that
Right.
all of those things are in there, but no, I
But
do.
it has in our mind.
Oh, of course. Yes, sir.
Well, and I will say, the way this is shaking out, or the way they're going about, they're asking the district right now to get they want a price tag, state price tag. Get all the schools to send in, this is what it's gonna cost us. Can we do it? I would 99.99 people know we're not afford to do this. Then the state's gonna have to look at that, and they're gonna have to come up with what they are saying, will be some kind of system. Say, we're gonna give you X amount of money. That amount is going to be to a point that they're going to have to kind of end how this will progress. They don't want to spend the money to make the difference up every bus have it. The way they've done it, the way they pushed it out, giving them another biennium to come back together and say, okay, look, we jumped out there and said this, we need to amend this law to say this. So that, I just think that's what happened. We don't spend it yet. We're going to give it some money if they can. Just hearing other superintendents, there's no one able to get that.
I think they gave us time until what, September 2029?
2029, yes, sir.
They're back in session coming up. They're going to have that back.
They're either going to pass a huge funding bill for it, or they're going to push
Rework.
the deadline out. They have to do something.
What has been our plan for replacing buses? Like, have we replaced buses on a regular basis, like 2 a year or 1 a year? Or when's the last time we bought new buses?
No, sir. The last year we bought new buses was, I think, 2 years ago. I think the last big initiative was the Black Dragons and the mini, or baby dragons, is that what we call them? Baby dragons. They are not on a cyclical rotation. That's one thing that I and Ms. Summer Adams, the transportation director, have talked about, getting that on there. The bulk of our fleet is 2018 models, and I think we bought, yeah, I was about to say 13 vehicles, 13 buses all at once. So we're going to have to start stair-stepping them, or else we're going to get hit with 13 all at once. So
That kind of said out about the bus, but one of the questions I have about do we have of being like, you're granted that I've asked, not you, but on facilities.
Yes, ma'am. That is one of the things that we started. Miss Cindy Smith and I, we had TASB come in and do a facilities assessment, and we have a full, a full listing of HVAC units and their age and model year number and serial numbers all in a database so that we can track if and when those units need to be replaced. So we're trying to get on a cyclical cycle of replacing those. As far as freezers go, we have kind of the same thing. And for the facility assessment, we have roof ages and conditions and pictures and all of those things. We are working towards that kind of comprehensive 5-year capital improvement model of we need these things to be fixed, because that's where, to your point, that's kind of where the kids are. The buildings are kind of important. So we're working towards getting a model that is more cyclical and proactive, rather than we need 5 boilers for the schools and, you know, they've been in service for 25 years. We're trying to get more proactive as opposed to reactive. Yes, ma'am.
And I can tell you that I have on a hard drive, a portable hard drive, from 2016 through 18, a capital for 5, 10, 20 years for NISD over carpet, roof, everything. So some of the schools aren't even here anymore. But Ralph and I, we went through that whole process. It took us 2 years to get all that done. So when y'all get real serious about it, I will send you my stuff so y'all can just plug it in and go. So yeah, it is out there, and it is something that we need to do, and the bus the same way we need to. Because what happened on those 13s, we had a bunch of Bluebird buses, and those buses, the engine we lost 3 engines on. They wouldn't replace them for it because they said some kind of maintenance wrong. So instead of continuing to lose buses, we sold all of those buses to a district down to Houston, and then bought 13 new Thomas buses. Actually, we leased purchased 13 buses. We just wanted to pay a little out here. But we knew when we did it that at some point we were going to be right back to the same deal, let them all go.
I just would prefer to have, no, they don't want to.
Speak
That's
into
the other
my
reason
heart.
why we have our facility planning team.
And I'd probably like to see your, I think you think.
I appreciate your thoughts and input.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all's questions, and as always, if you have any more, feel free to email or call or ask Mr. Burton. I'll give you an answer.
Are there any more questions and comments? Any more questions, comments? Not? Oh, Mr. Z, I always,
Yeah.
I ask him a question.
I think you can just glide on through mine. Well, good. Wait, am I supposed? Can I start? I have a task of getting done quickly today. So, good afternoon, President Nearmon, members of the board, and Superintendent Burton. Thank you for this opportunity to kind of go over our compensation plan with you, and we're going to do it a little differently than what we've done in the past. Please rest assured, I am not going through this packet with you, line item by line item. What you will notice in this is it's a lot more streamlined now and easy for a normal person to go through and understand what we're doing. And in the back is all the legalese and administrative regulations that we follow that we haven't had necessarily in writing. And in my experience, it is not good not to have those things in writing. So we've all got them now in a good place. So the real goal for tonight is to kind of do a 30,000-foot view about why we have a compensation plan, how those pays are structured, how we determine values to positions, and then really, as a board, kind of how you're able to pull levers with that. And, you know, the previous speaker decided to say that payroll is another beast, and he failed to mention that HR is the beast. We're the 80% of that budget. And then he loves to talk about we're the same coin. What he leaves out in that analogy is we're a penny, and I'm the face-up side that everybody steps on, and he's the shiny side when you pick up the penny that's on the bottom there, because no one is ever happy with compensation. So as we dive in today, oh, there's my little clicker. Why do we even have a compensation plan? And it really breaks down to three specific areas. The first being talent attention, attraction, and retention. And what that means is are we going to be competitive enough in a market to where we can attract top-tier talent that we want and keep top-tier talent? Organizational alignment to priorities, just as Mr. Eberlin said to you, part of our goal here is to value what the board's priorities are. So when we're making determinations on what we're going to pay certain positions or where we're placing positions on pay grades, we go back to what is the board trying to advance. And then finally, competitiveness and fairness. Competitive in the sense that we have to compete in a variety of labor markets, and fair in the sense that we've got to try to make sure that people are doing similar types of work are getting paid in a comparable area. And one of my great mentors once told me that, life is not fair. Fair is where you show your pigs. And so that's pretty much how compensation feels sometimes, is no matter how we break it down for people, they feel like they're the pig of it all. And we have to do all that while maintaining fiscal responsibility, because anytime we bring a recommendation to you from the compensation plan, we are committing not just this year, but in the future as well. And so these are never taken lightly. And so as we talk about compensation, I want you to really keep those three things in mind, is that we're trying to attract and retain talent, we're trying to advance your priorities as a board, and we're also trying to ensure that we're competitive and fair to our employees. So now we've kind of talked about why we have one. Let's talk about how our actual pay systems are built. And so with that, our pay system, our comp plan is really not just one size fits all. It actually is a variety of pay structures. And what I mean by that is that we have things like a teacher's salary schedule, professional admin grade, and for those who've worked in school districts, you know the teacher sheet looks like this, which I think is on page 15 for y'all, and then the rest of the world kind of looks like this, which is your pay grades. And so a note on that, the teacher scale is what's called a step-based model, where each year you have a predictable increase that you're going to have, and it's really governed really by the market as well as state regulations. One of the things you'll notice on here is that we've added a column this year that says teacher retention allotment, and that is state money that is provided to teachers based on their year's experience. So what you'll see here is that when a teacher hits year 3 of service, the state is providing us $2,500 to go towards them, and that's where my office works really well with Peems. I'm glad she's here today. Can't say enough nice things about her, because we have to report that to the state, and then it's allotment, so they're going to give it to us based on that reporting mechanism. And the old model had it where it was lumped together, and so I think people thought, well, that's what NISD's paying you. Well, no, here's what NISD's paying you. Here's what the state is paying you. Those are pretty discernible differences. The next type is your professional and administrative pay grades. Those are pay ranges with a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum. Just a little note on the midpoint. I think a lot of people think midpoint is the middle of their career, and that is a misnomer. That is the market rate for that position, and it is roughly equivalent to 20 years of experience in that classification. Now, Mr. Burton will laugh. He goes, you tell me someone that has 20 years in that exact pay grade, and I don't believe it. And so there's a little bit of art that goes along with determining how much money we provide people based on that scale, but it is not the middle of your career. And then third is our paraprofessional and our auxiliary hourly structures. So those are the paraprofessionals, those are our custodians, cafeteria workers, and we keep that at an hourly structure because actually of all the positions we're vying for, that one has some of the hardest labor markets we compete in, because those are employees that aren't just fighting for school districts, SFA, it's also going to be any private employer. So I don't know if y'all recall last year y'all approved about $1 and some change raise for our auxiliary team members, and when we came to you had significant number of vacancies, and I'm proud to tell you today that food services has 6, and I think we've got 2 custodial openings, so we've filled them. So that minor adjustment not only took care of our people that we already have, it also was able to incentivize us to get some more into the program here. And layered across all that is our stipends and incentives. Those are things where we're not necessarily touching the base pay. And just because I know Ms. App likes to ask questions about terms, you'll find at the very end of this, I actually included a glossary of terms now for everybody. So if you want to know about base pay, it's right there. It's the very first one. But the salary, the stipends and incentives are really those one-time payments. It's your coaching stipends. It might be that you're a department head, but they allow us to provide a targeted increase. But sometimes they don't really get us to what we'd say is the market rate long term because they don't count towards your retirement, but they do have their uses. So with that, we've talked about why we have a plan, how is it structured. Now, Mr. Z, how do you come up with the values? And I think a lot of people believe that I sit in my office and just make up what we're going to pay people, and that's just not the case. This is where the science comes into it. So we actually rely on 3 specific areas when we're determining valuations for different positions. The first being external market data. We use TASB, Region 7, State Studies. I have a great network of HR people, and we all like to share, hey, what does your comp plan look like? Here's what mine looks like. So we have a general idea of what everyone's paying. And then internal equity is where we're looking at how are similar positions within the pay grade. So what that means is pay grade 3, for example, in the administrative professionals has counselors. So we have to consider elementary counselors, middle school counselors, high school counselors, testing coordinators, academic advisors, special education counselors. If I meet with any one of those 6 people, they're going to tell me why they deserve more money than the other 5 that are there. And so we have to look at similar levels of work where we're going to place them. The final one, and this is kind of a big one for Ben especially, is what is our budget capacity and our long-term sustainability. So prior to the meeting, Dr. Groman came to me and said, hey, where are we getting this, the teacher retention allotment from? That's going to be a lot of money. So good news, it's from the state. It's not from us. And so we do look at that, though, especially when you look at your declining enrollments and where do we fall, because ultimately we don't want to be a team that brings forward a plan to you that's going to bankrupt us. We want to be very conservative with that money. So when we look at those 3, we never bring forward a compensation plan that is recommended on just one of those. It is a back and forth. I've been working on this document since October, and so it's a lot of balancing of those 3 priorities to give you the best plan that we think we can provide you. And so for the board, I've talked a lot about things that really live with administration, but for y'all, you have some pretty big leverage when it comes to this. Not only do you authorize the plan in its entirety, you're also going to provide things like general pay increases or GPIs. And that is where we touch the base salary, which is just what we're paying you. And so when we say, hey, we would like to recommend a 2% increase across the board, that is a GPI increase or base pay increase. And so those increases, when you approve those, have a compounding effect. So when you approve it this year, it makes the total bigger for next year. One of the ways we've mitigated that from an HR standpoint is that our GPIs are based on midpoint. It's a percentage of the midpoint opposed to the individual's amount. So if Mr. Z makes $100,000, we're going to use easy numbers. Let's say I make $100,000 and we do 2% at my salary, it would be $2,000. That would be my increase. But depending on my pay grade, that $2,000 changes. So on my pay grade, my average increase is going to be about $1,200. So I can pretty well determine each year, based on what your percentage is, what that increase will be. Why we do that? There's a lot of reasons for it. A, it helps us with budgetary reasons, but B, it gets the people below midpoint, that market value, there faster. And then it kind of slows us down as we start stacking up on the years with a whole lot of money. And so it's a regulation for us to make sure we get people to where we want them faster while also being fiscally conservative as far as giving. And so when it comes to GPIs, that is one thing that I defer to Mr. Burton making those recommendations. We work a budget to say, here's what we think we can afford. Not think, we know. The next piece there is your one-time payments, and those are your non-recurring incentives. I don't know if you all remember during COVID, we did the $2,000 stipend in November, or incentive in November, and those are great because they allow us an opportunity to address things then and there. It takes board action. You can do it whenever you want. It doesn't get us closer to market value, and then people tend to think that that is part of their salary after we've done it, and so those I'd always caution you on. And last but not least, addressing pay compression over time. I'm not going to get into the specifics impression with y'all. It's in the back of the comp plan if you'd like to look at it. But in simple terms, it's when my new people, the divide between new and seasoned is not very big. And so it's looking at where do people fall in the particular range so that we're allowing for our more seasoned or veteran employees to have a pretty discernible difference. And that is not an easy thing to fix. It takes quite a bit of blood and tears from all parties involved, but it is something that y'all can address through approving the comp plan with different ranges. So I've given you all of that, and for transparency's sake, I get a lot of people that say I make up people's salaries. And so for transparency's sake, I wanted to walk you through what this looks like on our end when we're preparing for an employee. So counselors, actually, are people that were traditionally on a step model. We're recommending in this comp plan that counselors, nurses, librarians move to an administrative pay grade. So that's not like what teachers are on. It's more on where you'd find the administrative professionals and the certified professionals. Reason for that is with the advent of the teacher retention allotment and the teacher incentive allotment, people in these specialized areas are not getting funded by the state. And so the question is, why do I have to have additional education and more certification and I'm making substantially less money? Well, nice answer is because the state wants you to be teaching. But no one ever wants to hear that answer from me. So with that recommendation, let's say we do an elementary counselor. And they're going to come in here. And so the first thing is we are going to put them on a professional pay grade. So there's our range. We have a min, a midpoint, and a max. And remember, our midpoint is not the middle of your career. It is roughly 20 years of experience in that particular pay grade. And how do we get those numbers? Well, these are not all the numbers I used. These are just a very small amount, but they are comparable districts. You'll see that we use enrollment, total staff counts, number of duty days that they work, their pay minimum and pay maximum, and that provides us where we come in and say, okay, here's what we want our standard to look like. So in this particular case, based on that data, we feel very confident that we are advancing our counselors by placing them on pay grade 3. So little Mr. Z comes in and he's got 10 years experience, so where do I fall on this pay grade? Well, it depends. If Mr. Z has 10 years of experience and 5 are running a landscape company and 5 are working with students, well, I'm only going to get credit for 5 years, okay? But if it's working with students in those full 10, we're going to give Mr. Z 10 years. So that means they're going to fall between the min and the midpoint. In this case, it would be roughly $59,400. Now, can I stop there? Nope, wish I could. Because I also have to look at pay equity. So how are other people treated on when we offered them pay? So as you see here, I've got 2 red flags. The first one is I've got a 12-year veteran making substantially less, and I've got a 14-year veteran who's making probably a little bit too much. I'd love to know who did their calculations for them. I need them to do mine. So, and then I've got a 26-year veteran who falls within where we'd expect. So does this mean that I start changing people's salaries? No. It does mean, though, that when we come to you and bring annual updates, or it might mean that our office makes a recommendation to Mr. Burton that, hey, we've got a 12-year veteran we found substantially below where I need them to be. Do you mind if we authorize a pay increase in that case? We're going to take care of our people, but that's how you get to that scale, to be fair where we show up. Now, after we've placed this particular person with 10 years experience at $59,400, that's where they sit until you as a board take action. So let's say you do a general pay increase. You can see their years of service, how that individual who we offered $59,000 by the 2030 year when our DOI exemption for teacher certifications is out, they'll be making $64,744 following that percentage increase. Okay, so I show you that to say compensation is not static. We are all over based on what's available in the budget for us to provide raises for. We are always looking for how can we get our people to have the most and take care of them. And, you know, as we wrap up here, the key takeaways I want you to know is that personnel, as Ben has said, are our biggest costs, are 80%. So when we bring any recommendation for you on compensation, understand it's not taken lightly because that is a substantial portion of the district's funds. Next, compensation decisions don't live in just 1 year in our mind. We have to look at multiple years out, which makes us not always the most popular when we make recommendations because we want change now, but we may not be able to afford it. We are in a very, very competitive market. Every district in the state is facing the same shortages we are. And so that's where we have to get really clear direction on what our priorities are so we can make sure we value those at a certain way within our plan. And lastly, it's a balancing act of competitiveness, equity, and sustainability financially for us when we bring this forward. So I appreciate your opportunity for me to go through that. Hopefully it was fast enough, but not too fast. And in giving you that 30,000-foot view, I hope you have a better understanding of how we provide you these recommendations. And I am happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, sir. So if you are when our process is now, when you're hired on and you do all your paperwork through our new program, which is Frontline, can't say enough great things about what that's done for our department. We actually sit down with people and walk through, here's what your pay is. If you're on a teacher scale, here's the teacher scale. If you're on administrative pay grade, here's where you're going to fall. One of the things we're trying to increase is our transparency when it comes to financial decision making. I am very confident that the plan that we're proposing is incredibly competitive for our area, and I'll stand by it based on the positions that we're really in need of. So, nothing to hide. Yeah.
I talked to you about this. We're talking about 1,000. Does not say a accredited master. I spent 18 years at East Texas Baptist University on the board, and we had all these accreditations that we did, and that's for our students because that's market. And then we added master. We finally added a doctorate program, and things got really hard for us to pass all this stuff. And then we added a seminary. Okay, so why am I bringing it up? Because every program was accredited. So we're looking at just 1 year and somebody coming in and they have a paper that says national non-accredited program. That doesn't hurt us 1 year, but they stay for 20 or 30 years. That's a lot of money for a piece of paper that was, don't know if it's really valid. So I just want us to be looking at places or come through the things, trying to water. It's not going to be a significant amount of money, but have some guide.
So that's a great question, and I will tell you, if you're talking about water through your fingers, if someone can get blood out of a rock, it's going to be me when it comes to saving us money. And when it comes to that, we actually have administrative regulations that it has to come from an accredited university. So when we get your transcripts, we have to go through and confirm that that is in fact a conferred degree upon you. Anytime we're giving money, it's taxpayer dollars, so we have to be very careful about who we give it to and how we give it to them.
Thank you for your oversight.
Absolutely.
Any more comments?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. With that, we adjourn.